There was one particular incident. Swami had granted us an interview on one afternoon. And towards the end of the interview, ivaga, hogi, already. Vibhuti. You know, these are typical. Swami at the end of the interview would signal you to get the Vibhuti tray, and then once he gives you the Vibhuti packets, you are supposed to take namaskar and leave the room. Vibhuti kodu. So I held the tray, he gave Vibhuti, and we got up and we said, Swami, we are leaving to Bangalore now. Hogbittu. We got up, came out, went to the room. Swami went into the bhajan mandir. He was seated on the throne for the bhajans, evening bhajans. And we, instead of sitting there, have gone back to the room. We have started unpacking everything, dressed into my colored clothes, and getting ready to start for Bangalore. And suddenly a boy comes to the room and knocks and says, Sir, Swami is calling you back. And I said, for what? Just now we took his permission. Have I done any mistake? And I was shivering. I said, has anything gone wrong unknowingly? Have I done something wrong? I don't know. So I just, in those colored clothes, I just rushed back to the mandir. And the last bhajan, I think, was going on. It was around 5:30, 5:35 in the evening. Aarti was about to be offered. Swami was on the throne. The registrar, our earlier registrar, he said, where did you go? Swami was asking, come sit. So they made me sit. That was probably one of the few occasions when you didn't want to be under the direct sight of the Lord. Because I was full of fear. I didn't know what mistake I have done. And they were pushing me closer and closer and closer to the bhajan door. And I was right there, and he was on the chair, and he could see me clearly, but he was immersed in the bhajans. Totally immersed, full of that bliss. And I was hoping that when he opens his eyes, he's in a good mood. And when he opens his eyes, I don't become ash or something like that. You know. And the bhajan ended. Aarti, and Swami slowly opened his eyes. He looked and he gave a smile. And then I knew, oh, there is nothing wrong that has happened. Nothing so drastically wrong that must have happened. If he has given that smile, everything must be fine. But I still didn't understand, why did he call us back from that room when just 1 hour ago we were with him for almost 40 minutes? Swami accepts Aarti, gets off the throne, comes till the bhajan mandir door, calls me and says, Pada namaskara tago. So I take namaskar. He says, Namaskara tagoldene hogta ideyalla, adikke khardu namaskara kodakke karde. You are leaving Puttaparthi without taking my namaskar. I called you back so that I can give you namaskar and send you. This much love, I don't think you can get from anybody. It is impossible. Why should the Lord do it? Just imagine, we are, at least I know what I am. For a measly creature like that, to call him all the way back, to tell him I have called you to give you namaskar, this only Swami could do. I don't think anybody, no other avatar can do this. Only he could do this. There was another incident which touched me so much. It was one afternoon, it was during the days when the Atirudra Mahayagna was going on in Prasanthi Nilayam. I remember one afternoon we were running around and there was a lot of work to be completed. I had not had my breakfast, I had not had lunch. A lot of work was pending for the afternoon session. And suddenly, Swami sent word around 12:45, said, ask him to come. I went home. I entered the dining hall. Swami was seated there. The secretary of our trust, the former secretary, was standing there. And Swami says, Uta madilva? I said, Illa Swami, kutko. So I said, Swami, how can I sit on the same table where you have your food? I will sit down. I was hungry, believe me. I was very hungry. And when somebody offers you food and when somebody offers it with so much love, how can you refuse? I said, Swami, I'll sit down and I'll eat. Mele kutko. And he made me sit. And then he fills up the plate with everything. Then he says, Ivattu yav divsa? I said, Ivattu Krishna Janmashtami. It was Janmashtami on that day. Oh, so naan uta kodbeku. He takes his chair close. Papa, ತಾಯಿ ತಂದೆ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ರೆ ಊಟ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು, ಯಾರೂ ಇಲ್ಲ, ನಾನೇ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು. So he takes every hand and feeds. And from that chair, because he had to really strain and put his hands into my mouth and give those few mouthfuls of food, I did not know what to do. I actually said, Swami, at this moment, please take away my prana. Because I don't think I can ever have so much love again in my life. This is too much, this much of love, I don't think anybody can give to anyone. Why should he call? Why should he call and give food and feed me? He says, Illa Bangaru, Thago. He goes on. I said, Swami, your fingers, they are into my mouth. Why? He said, take away my prana now, Swami, it is enough. He says, prana ತಗೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ನನ್ನ ಕೆಲಸ ಯಾರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ? ಹೋಗು ಅರೇಂಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡು. As if nothing happened. He takes you into the depths of that divine love. He soaks you, bathes you, immerses you in that love. And then the disciplinarian in him, the mother in him, the merciful Lord in him, to put you on the path, to teach you non-attachment. Go and do your work. So he sent me back and work went on. This incident was again so touching. Later on, in fact, once when he called home for lunch, he was feeding us with so many things. Finally, at one stage, there was some bangan masala or something which was served. And I was not touching it. And the Swami kept on watching. Then he said, hey, Tinu. I was trying to be too smart. I said, Swami, idella tamsik. He said, nan jote yen tagondru adu satvik agate. Tinu. So he made me eat that, and of course my hand was itching to have it. But you have to prove your extra smartness, no? So then he gave chocolate ice cream, vanilla ice cream, butterscotch. They came in one ready sequence and they went through the gullet smoothly, steadily, as fast as it could. And after that he says, last ice cream yaudu? I said, chocolate. Chocolate tinle bardu. You must not have chocolate ice cream only. Now, anyway they have made a mistake, I'll give you fruits now. So then fruits come. Variety of fruits keep coming. And after the fruits are taken, finally when we were all coming to Swami to take his namaskar before leaving, he says, Bangaru, uta seriyaga agilla. After all this, he says, next time naane ready maadi kodtini. So this kind of love on and off was a little too much to, fathom. I think it was not too much to understand, but it was too much to fathom because only God can give this kind of love. There was another beautiful incident. We have time? Every time we would go to Parthi, I would take some Nevidyam for Swami, prepared at home. On one such occasion, we had taken khara bundi for him. And that afternoon, he called us inside. And during the interview, he said, Indian samachara. So I said, Swami, nothing. And then, Nange yen tagond bandidya? What have you got for me? I said, nothing, Swami. You see the ignorant mind, no? I couldn't even think of removing my bag and removing the vessel. I said, Indian samachara. He wanted it to come out. And I am not telling, I am not remembering it. Again, Bangalore-inda bhariya yeno maadi kalisirbekalla. Your wife must have prepared something and sent. Then I realized, she gave me one bowl full of khara bundi. I said, howdu Swami, khara bundi ide, kodu. So the bundi is removed and I place it at his lotus feet. He says, Salpa kodu. So that spoon, the grace, the finesse that this avatar has is something so unique. His hand movements, the way he would look at you, the way he would brush that hair aside, the way he would shrug off a mosquito which, if it was sitting on his robe, the way he would glance at you suddenly, the way he would put food into his mouth, everything was so perfect. The way he took the spoon, took bundi in that, like this. And one bundi fell down. And it rolled on that carpet, the interview room. And my eyes immediately shifted to that one bundi. And I decided somehow I should hold this and put it into my pocket, because how can that bundi be there? And Swami was talking. He was saying all kinds of things. But look at man. Instead of focusing on the divine wisdom which the Lord was trying to shower, I was more concerned about that one small khara bundi which was rolling somewhere on the carpet. Suddenly Swami said, "Hey, adu kodu." I said, "Swami, how can I give this to you? This fell down, and on the same carpet we have all been walking. How can I give it to you, Swami? It is not possible. I cannot give this. I cannot even offer it to you." He said, "Whatever is offered to me with love, I will accept. Give it." So instantly I gave it, and instantly he took it. And he said, "Tumba santosha." And I was feeling guilty. I said, how could have I even offered something which had fallen down? But the Lord chose to give it a totally different interpretation. He said, anything that is offered to me with love, I will accept. This was the extent of his love. This was the extent of his compassion. He was not worried about the quantity. He was worried only about the quality. His love, I think, immeasurable. I remember two other incidents. Suddenly it comes to my mind during the Atirudram. I remember on the first day of the yagna, it was supposed to have started in the evening of the 9th of August, the functions. And that afternoon, you know, how much of build-up had happened for this yagna, and Swami was talking about it to everybody. And believe me, I want to say this in front of Swami today. Again, I mentioned this in front of him in Kulwant Hall during those yagna days. Yet again, in this Ramesh Hall, I want to tell you all, this yagna, entire thing was conceived, thought, executed entirely by him. People very often make this mistake and associate us with it. We are no way connected, entirely conceived by him, executed by him. Every small thing he did, everything he did connected to the yagna. There was nothing. He even got the ghee organized from Punjab. He got all the ahutis organized. He got the firewood organized. He got the homakundas organized. He got the rangoli to be put around the home. Everything was done by him. So I remember that morning, there was still a lot of work to be done. And Swami suddenly calls me at about 12 o'clock home. And when I enter, he says, "Nodu Bangaru, if your parents had been there, all arrangements, they would have taken care. Now your parents are not there. So you don't get tensed and worried at all. You go now and sleep. You go to your room and sleep. You have good rest, get up, have a good bath, and straight you come to the hall. I will take care of all the arrangements." I said, "Swami, there is so much work still pending. Allow me to finish that little work. I will go to the room at 3 o'clock. I'll have my bath and come." Beda. You should not go through. If your parents had been there, I would not have called you. Since your parents are not there, I am telling you, go to your room and sleep. And I had to obey him, because whatever the Lord says should be obeyed. There are no two ways about it. Some things which he says might seem very basic on the face of it, but there would be a great significance beyond what he said. So I religiously went to the room and I took my good nap. On the day of the yagna, believe me, that day we are starting, and the whole world might have thought this guy must be very busy. Actually, I was resting in the room, and Swami was busy getting all arrangements made. And I got up, had a bath, and right royally came. And at 2:45, some knock on the door, and that man says, "Swami has sent flask with coffee." I said, "What is this? What is the great thing that we are doing for the Lord to actually take care and send some coffee?" This is love. This kind of care, that motherly care. You know, the words which he said was, if your parents had been there, it was different. Now that your parents are not there, I have to take care. Even the first morning when the prana pratishtha had to be done, with due respect to all the elders in the organization and in the trust. Many of them said, Swami, why should you do the Prana Pratishtha early morning at 6 o'clock? Please take rest. Let us do it after 9 o'clock. And Swami called each one of them. I remember that incident where he called each one of the elders into the interview room, and I was seated there, and he would ask each one of them, this yagna he is telling, is it all okay? And everybody gave Swami their own interpretations. And they said, Swami, it's so early in the morning, there is no need, let us do it at 9 o'clock. And Swami finally heard them all out and sent them. And Swami said, you don't worry what anybody is saying. I will come. I will come at 6 in the morning and I will do the Prana Pratishtha. And then I said, Swami, but at physical level, you should not take the strain. I will come because if your parents had been there again and again, the same thing. If your parents had been there, they would have taken care, they would have been there. Since they are not there, I have to come. So I said, Swami, so much you have done, everything is done by you, why should you take that? No, I will come. And promptly that morning at 6 a.m. he comes. He does the Prana Pratishtha. And when he is leaving in the car, Nan helidnalla bartinanta nodu bande. I told you I'll come, I have come. So this kind of concern, this kind of care, this kind of a feeling that he kept giving me, that I am there. You don't have to worry that you have nobody else, I am there. This is not a feeling just given to me. This is a feeling that is applicable to the entire humanity, that God in that form is available for all of us and is there to take care of us. In 2007 March, my wife and I, unfortunately, we had a very bad road accident on our way back from Prasanthi Nilayam one morning. It was a Thursday. That morning, when I took permission to leave to Bangalore, the first thing Swami asked was, Vaifu barta idara vapasu? I wondered why was he asking that, because it was a normal thing. Every time we would go together and return together. I said, how do, Swami? Very disgruntledly, he gave permission. And so we sat down. And afterwards, we left at about 1 o'clock from there, 12:30, I think. Somewhere near this, after the highway was crossed, when we were coming towards Chikbalapur, the Devanali cross, we had a terrible road accident. It was a Volvo bus hitting our car head-on. I was not driving very fast, but the road was wrongly structured there. He came and hit head-on. And the car was smashed completely. She collapsed immediately. Lot of blood, almost a liter of blood was out, head injury. She just became unconscious. And I was sitting and I had blood all over me, injuries all over me. I didn't know what to do. We were not even able to remove her out of the car. She was caught. And we went through a lot of trauma. I mean, it's a very long story. If I keep talking about it, it will go on for the next 2 hours, I think. A good Samaritan came. He took us to the Devanhalli government hospital. At a particular point, the hospital head said, she is no longer there. You have to understand that she is not there anymore. She has gone cold. Everything has ended. We cannot revive her now. So now we will arrange an ambulance for you to take the body back to Bangalore. And I said, I cannot believe this. I mean, how can this happen? And the first thought was Swami. And I called one of our seniors in Puttaparthi, who went straight to Swami and reported, Swami, you tell him nothing is wrong. Tell him to tell the doctors to give her an injection. And he calls me back and he says, Swami has instructed that you should tell the doctor to give her an injection. And I go to the doctor and tell him, and that man shouts at me. He says, what are you talking? She is not there anymore. We have already covered the body and kept. How do you expect us to give her an injection? Have you gone mad? I said, Sai Baba has sent this message. He says, I don't know how to respond. You go and tell Sai Baba she's already gone. I said, but since he has said it, you please do it. So he instructs the nurse, and that lady just takes an injection and gives, like that. And the moment that injection was given, she said. So I said, how can she is alive? How can you say she is gone? And then he says, this is unimaginable, and the doctors all started fretting, and they couldn't imagine what was happening in front of their eyes. And finally, they thought something had gone wrong with us. Something was wrong at a different plane. I hope you understand. They got scared that somebody whom they had declared as dead was actually making a noise and coming back. They thought something was drastically wrong, but they couldn't appreciate the fact that this was a great Leela of the Lord. And we then put her on an ambulance. It was again a lot of miracle that an ambulance got arranged. Brand new ambulance comes there with a driver in crisp, clean uniform. First time the ambulance is being driven by him. He takes us, and on the way continuously Chakravarti sir is giving information. Swami has said, go to Nimhans, don't worry, there is so-and-so doctor, go, take care. So we go. The doctor is waiting there. Incidentally, this doctor, Sathya Prabha, is the daughter of a doctor who is to come to Swami. I think it was Narasappa. Narasappa's daughter is this Dr. Sathya Prabha. We went to Nimhans and everything was ready. And I was soaked in blood, injuries everywhere. I don't know how I was even moving around. There were all kinds of injuries. She was still in almost a very delirious, unconscious state. We reached the hospital. The doctor takes her in. They do all kinds of tests. They say the thin layer of the brain got saved by a few millimeters of inches or something like that. It was a miraculous escape. They said she needs to be there for a few weeks. And believe me, in 2 days' time, with Swami's divine intervention, she got discharged. She came back home. I'm cutting the story short because we don't have time. Miraculously, he intervened and he got her out of the hospital. And that night, the night when I admitted her in the hospital, I went back home. I came home to get change clothes for her. And when I entered the house, the entire kitchen was full of glass pieces. The entire kitchen was flooded with glass pieces. And I didn't realize what was this. How could glass pieces be there in the kitchen? Anyway, I asked the lady in the house, what is this? And she was also shocked. Went back to the hospital. We went through the treatment. And all. Every day, the next 15 days, every day in the evening, Swami would inquire. He would make somebody or the other call, ask them how are they, ask them what is happening. Today, how is she? Today, how is she? And on the second day after the accident happened, Swami in fact got into the car and said, take me to his house, I want to go now. And then somebody said, Swami, they are still in Nimhans. So he said, ask them to take rest. Every evening, 6:30, a call would come. How are they? How are they? How are they? After 15 days, he sent a message, asked them to come to Parthi. So we both went to Puttaparthi. That afternoon, he was seated. Swami comes at 3:45, and he takes in students' terminology, it is that square cut, the first cut on the side. The moment he comes into the hall, the first cut he took, and he comes around. The moment he is entering the veranda, he says, Punarjanma Kotidini, Punarjanma Kotidini. So I went to him, I said, Swami, everything was gone and you did something which nobody can do. I mean, I didn't know how to express. What will you tell the Lord who has given life back? Call her inside. So I asked her to come. As we are entering the interview room, Swami says, Punarjanma, Punarjanma. He says, Hod janmadalli yeneno marta idri. Ee janma saigagi matra. You did all kinds of things in earlier births. This birth is only for Sai. And then he narrated the entire incident. He said how it happened. He said, I was standing on the road divider and you were crying. He said, you keep telling you have a lot of faith in me, but when you saw your wife was collapsing and dying, you were crying. You didn't even once call out to me. What is this faith that you have? And I was standing there and I was laughing at you. I said, why did you laugh? He said, Swami, how can you laugh? He said, you had no faith in me. You were continuously crying. You should have called out to me. You should have cried out to me. You didn't call out to me. But I didn't let you go. I did everything that was required. When the injection was put in, I put the prana inside, he said. In fact, after saying this, I actually started off telling you all, I told Swami, I want to narrate this incident in Kulwant Hall in front of everybody, Swami. You have to give me the permission. And he said, idikkinna samaya bandilla, samaya bandaga nin helu. Ivaga beda, samaya bandaga helu, he said. And I asked him many times after that. I said, Swami, permit me to tell this, permit me to tell this. And this morning, when I was sitting in my puja, and I said, Swami, at least today, allow me to share this incident in that hall, that garland just cut. And so I decided that I must share this experience with all of you today. And after that, after this, what he said was, I'm telling you, I am not able to even now believe what he said. He said, those 15 days, Swami said, every time I used to take food and take it near my mouth, I could not eat because I was thinking about you. He said, I have not eaten properly for 15 days. So much of love. I tell you, I don't think I deserve it. I don't think we all deserve it. So much he did. So much he's doing. We have not risen up to what he wanted us to do. We are not rising up. We are still caught in our mundane issues only. This was absolute true divinity. This was divinity in its fullest form. Can you imagine Lord saying, I could not eat because I was thinking about you? 15 days he said, Nanu uta madilla mangaru. And I held his hand and said, Swami, why? For us, why, Swami? We are not worth it. We are not worth all this love. This much love you should not give, Swami. We will not be able to take it. And somehow it ended. He gave us so much love after that. In the next few days, he kept us in Prasanthi Nilayam. He took care, every time inquiring, every time asking. So much care, so much love, so much love. When he was sending us back in that visit, when we were returning back to Bangalore, he said, Inmelainda, Naan Gadi Hinde, back seat alli Naan kutkoltini. I said, Swami, he said, Neen yavagella fast hogtiyo, Naan control martini. Yenu chinte madbeda. Naan back seat alli Naan kutkoltini. Front alli neevu, back alli Nanu, he said. And after that, there was a very mundane thought. I want to just add this incident because there was a very mundane need. The car that I had was a Wagoner, white color, which met with the accident. A Volvo bus, it's a Wagoner, you can imagine. And I incidentally, in that interview, asked Swami about the glass pieces. And he said, when the bus hit the car, all the glass pieces and the steering should have come and hit your face. I turned the steering and put it the other way, and all those glass pieces, I put it off in your kitchen. That is why all those glass pieces were in the kitchen. So he can go to any extent, brothers and sisters. There is absolutely no limit. He is here now. I know he's here. You can feel it. He is very much here. It's unfortunate we are not able to see it with these eyes. We need to elevate ourselves, uplift ourselves to an extent we can see him continuously. But he is here. It is so clearly evident he is here. After this incident was over, there was a mundane requirement at a very human, earthly level. I had to get a new car, obviously, because the car was all smashed. There was no way it could have any... In fact, people who were driving back from Prasanthi Nilayam to Bangalore on that day, and they saw the car, they said, this chap is gone. He has merged. So there were a lot of rumors going on that he's already gone, because the car was completely shattered. And I then asked Swami, after a few weeks, he had stopped me from driving the car for 2 months. And then he said, Hosa car togobeka? I said, yes, Swami. Then I had a craving. I'm telling you to the extent a Lord can go, even to satisfy your mundane desires, small, petty, earthly, worldly desire. I wanted to have a big car. So I said, Swami, ee sali doddu car togobeku. So he says, ಕಾರ್ದು ಆ ಪೇಪರ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಬೇರೆ 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 ಕಾರು, ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ತೊಗೊಂಡು ಬಾ, ನಾನೇ ಸೆಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಸೊ ವಿ ಈವನ್ ವೆಂಟ್ ಡೌನ್ ಟು ದಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ದ ಲಾರ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ಅ ಕಾರ್ ಡೀಲರ್. I got number of brochures and I wanted to buy a Honda City. It was in my innermost desire, mundane, petty desire, like I said, was I wanted to buy the Honda City. I wanted to have a grey color car. Just because I said the color should be the color of Swami's car. So I get all the brochures and Swami patiently in the interview room goes through every brochure. He asks the background of the companies. I mean, those companies and those products were so blessed that his drishti fell on all their products and those companies. But he went through all that and finally he says, Beda Bangaru, chik gadi itkondre saku. Dodd car Beda Bangaru. But I was arguing, Illa Swami, Dodd car beku Swami. Please allow me to buy this car. And then he says, Beda Bangaru. Then he tells my wife, he comes through the other route. He tells her, you should tell him it is not correct to have a big car. Very difficult. Nowadays, lot of traffic is there. Ashram, people are moving around. I said, Swami, 24 hours I am not in the ashram. I have to travel from Bangalore to come. And in Bangalore also I need the car. I said, illa, chikku gadi saku. Nane kodtini, chikku gadi tagond bartini. Nannatra cars ide, small cars ide, nane kodtini. I said, Swami, I want to buy this car only. You know, hata. Adamance. And then he says, Aitu, itko. So I go ahead and I buy the Honda City car. And proud owner of the car. And I drive it to Parthi and come. And I get the keys. And I keep it for Swami to come and bless. When he is blessing it, no, he says, Chanagila gadi. I said, Swami, tumba olle car Swami, smooth agide. Chacha, chanagila. Then he is not touching the key only. He is touching the rose on the plate, he is touching the edge of the plate, he is touching everything else, but the key he is avoiding. And I am trying to push the key near his hand somehow, and he is master craftsman. I mean, how can you play games with the Lord? Everything is known. He had decided it was just a temporary accommodation to satisfy the mundane desire of a devotee. The devotee wants a car, okay, let him have the joy of owning the car. Ultimately, I will show him the right path. So he avoided touching the key. And something within me felt, that key he didn't touch, no, that key he didn't touch, something is wrong with this car. You know, that feeling started. And you will not believe me, brothers and sisters. You can ask anybody, Honda City is supposed to be a smooth drive. Right from that day, this was I think the second day after we got the car, this car was giving me a rough ride. Each time I sit and I try to drive, I'm getting a rough feeling. I'm not getting even 1/100th of the smoothness of the Maruti Wagoner. And Swami purposely, every time, Hosa gadi hengide. And he will be passing and suddenly, new car, like this. So one day I said, Swami, ಆ ಕಾರು ತುಂಬ ರಫ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಡು. I just tried to see if he will say, okay, I will make it okay or something. Kotbidu, instantly. No? And in a matter of a few months, it was a terrible experience driving that car. I almost started hating it. And then I one day went to Swami and said, I made a big mistake, Swami. I don't want that car. I want to give it off. Kotbidu, he said. And I got a buyer and sold the car. And then Swami says, buy the same type of car in which you had the accident. I said, Swami, psychologically, it will create nightmares for us if we have the same car. Illa, ade car tago. So I said, you wanted us to have a small car. I'll get you brochures of many small cars. So once again, Bhagavan Baba becomes a car dealer. Again, I take brochures. And this time it is, the i10 and all those, the Skoda, the small car, this the Maruti's other one. All kinds of small cars I took. And Swami immediately picked out the Wagoner and said, this is not some kind of a publicity for Wagoner, incidentally. I mean, I'm not marketing for Wagoner or I'm not part of Maruti Suzuki in any sense. But he instantly picked it out and he said, "E car tago, a car color white itala, white tago." And he made us buy the same white color Wagon-R. And he said, "Go, get the car, bring the keys." So much of, because he knew that was right. He knew it was important for us to not have a big profile. He knew he was teaching a lesson in contentment. He was teaching a lesson in keeping a low profile. He was teaching a lesson to show the devotee that lead a life which is not necessarily ostentatious. Those were the messages that were coming forth. Not that he didn't want a person to have a big car or a small car. The moment I take the keys, I had kept it inside a pouch. And the pouch was in my pocket. And that day happened to be some function in Prasanthi Nilayam. One of the districts had come and they were putting up a drama or something like that. And Swami was there. He had come, he was already witnessing. I reached Kulwant Hall late. So I was seated there in the veranda and I was hoping that after Aarati, Swami will probably, look at me at least, and then I get a chance to go and tell him that the car has been bought. And you will not believe, even as the program was going on, even as the drama was going on, Swami comes backstage. He comes straight there. "Car tugondya?" He said, "Yes." "Key kodu." And I got the key and Swami blessed it. So this is an incident to make us feel that mundane desires, mundane thoughts also he will satisfy. Everything he will satisfy. He is there for us. Whatever he does is in our interest. Nothing that he did or does or will continue to do will ever be against our interest. We need to be available to him. We have to be available for him to shower that mercy on us. That is all that is required. The timing is important. There were a few. Do we have time? How much time? 10 minutes. Okay. Are you all getting bored? Okay. I'll take two more. One of them is quite a funny incident, but these come to my mind immediately. Two more incidents where he sort of was trying to convey a message. And the Lord chooses his own style to convey a message. His style is different, One day, I was sitting in the interview room. Suddenly, I incidentally don't know how to sing bhajans. I incidentally don't know anything much about Vedam. Total murkha. God will accept people in spite of all deficiencies because that is his mercy. One afternoon, I was sitting at his feet. Suddenly he says, "Hey, how do I look to you?" Swami said, "Hey, kanistini." And like this, I have taken permission to narrate this from Swami directly, and I'm sure he will not be angry with me for this because there was a much greater message which he conveyed through this. And then I said, "Swami, suddenly I felt I should now praise the Lord to the skies. This is the only opportunity." I said, "Swami, you are Parabrahma Swarupa, you are the greatest, you are the most beautiful, there is nothing that is beyond you." Naan hegidini ivaga, nodakke hengidini? How do I look to you? Tumba sundaravagidira, Swami, I said. Then I said, "Swami, if you permit, I want to sing one small bhajan." Look at the audacity. Somebody who cannot sing bhajans, he's having the audacity to tell the Lord himself, who is Saraswati Sakshat, that I will sing a bhajan for you. Just look at the audacity in me. I had the guts to tell him that I will sing a bhajan for you. Hello. He knew that this is an absolute Sangeeta Shunya. But the mercy in him gave that opportunity. So I said, I started singing that bhajan, Sai Sundara. I actually don't have the guts to even sing it now because there's still a lot of that ego, but I'll venture into it. I said, "Sai Sundara Sundara." Cha, stop madu, he said. And I said, "What is this? I'm trying to put in my best and say that I can sing." And he just admonishes you like that. I didn't leave. I continued. Cha, stop madu, he said. Then I held his hand and I said, "Swami, ರಾಗ ತಾಳ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಭಾವ ಇದೆ. ಕೇಳಲೇಬೇಕು ನೀವು, ಐ ಸೆಡ್. And you will not believe, like a small kid, ಆಯ್ತು ಬಂಗಾರು ಹೇಳು. And then with rapt attention, Swami heard the entire song. His eyes are closed, he's in total bliss, total bliss. And there were portions of that song as you proceed further where I was also crying, he was also crying, and I was looking at his face. It was becoming even more and more and more beautiful. It was, the whole face was glowing like that. And then suddenly he opens, Aita, he said, Swami, ಎಷ್ಟು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಅವಕಾಶ ಕೊಟ್ರಿ. Then he says, ಭಾವ ಇದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಅವಕಾಶ ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ. If the feeling is there which is pure, I will give an opportunity. Bhava is the key, not anything else. That feeling should be there. It was a very great message. Telling you, it was, he chooses something to pass on some other great message to you. Similarly, Ashadi Ekadashi day was being observed in Prasanthi Nilayam, and I think the Mumbai organization which takes care of this, they had arranged for a very great musician to sing that evening. I will not take the artist's name for obvious reasons, but after the entire program got over, Swami came into the interview room and called me inside. This was after Aarti in the evening, and Swami says, hey, songs hegittu? I thought you are supposed to praise the artist, no? Because he sat through that for 1 hour, and at the end of it, he created some chain and all that also for that lady. So I said, Swami, yen aadidru Swami, eshtu chennagittu Swami, Meera Bhajansu, yen bhava, chacha, adu kacheri, he said. Bhavane irlila. Naan aadtin nodu, he said. And then he sang Payoji Mene. And I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, the beauty, I should use the word, the devotion. God showing devotion in his song. Mirabai was sakshat there. He was singing a few verses, he would stop, then cry, talking about Mirabai. This went on for 40 minutes. He narrated the troubles Mirabai went through. And he said, in spite of those troubles, she was crying out to Krishna. That bhava has to come out when you sing. ಆ ಭಾವ ಬಂದರೆ ನನಗೆ ಸಂತೋಷ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಸರ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಹಿ ಸ್ಯಾಂಗ್ ಪಾಯೋಜಿ ಮೇನೆ, ದ ಹೋಲ್ ಸಾಂಗ್ ಹಿ ಸ್ಯಾಂಗ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದಟ್ ಐ ಸೆಡ್, ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ, ನೀನು ಆ ಆರ್ಟಿಸ್ಟ್ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ ಹೇಳಿದೆ, ಆ ಆರ್ಟಿಸ್ಟ್ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದ್ದಾರಾ ನಾನು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದ್ದೀನ, ಯಾರು ಬೆಟರು? ಐ ಸೆಡ್, ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಆಬ್ವಿಯಸ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಯು ಓನ್ಲಿ. ದ ಆರ್ಟಿಸ್ಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಆಲ್ ಯುವರ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಷನ್. ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ಯು ಡಿಡ್ ನೌ ವಾಸ್ ಟು ಕನ್ವೆ ಅನದರ್ ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ he wanted bhava. It was that inner feeling, that sincerity, that feeling of oneness with the Lord. Once it gets translated to actions, in word, deed and action, then obviously the Lord's grace will flow. That mellifluous grace will incessantly flow. There was another very funny incident, 5 minutes? Yeah. Where Swami, he wanted to teach another lesson. And he took a lot of pain for this. I used to take papers to Puttaparthi whenever we had to, submit something to Swami or discuss about a project. I used to take them in a loose form, loose leaf, all in a folder like that. And Swami watched once, twice, thrice, 4 times, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. He kept watching. Then suddenly one day he said, you should not bring papers like this. You should carry it in a bag, proper bag. So I said, Aitu Swami, I'll get a bag. Next day itself, Swami comes with a bag. And Swami calls inside and says, Nodu, naan ninigagi bag tagondu bandidini. And it was a beautiful tanned color, beautiful, like a hand briefcase, nice bag, executive bag he brings, and he says, Vadagnadi. So he takes me inside, and he says, ee bag itko, inmelenda papers ella tagondu baruvaga ee bag alli hakondu tagondu ba. I said, I was So grateful to him that, he gave the bag. And I came out. After that, I was feeling very conscious that I am going to Bhagwan, carrying a briefcase kind of a thing. You feel very awkward when you are going to Swami with a bag and all that, It's like you're going to office or something. So what I would do is I'd hold the bag like this and walk. And Swami saw one day, and then the second day, and I think it was coming up. Something was about to burst. It was waiting to come out. Third, fourth day. That grim face, he said, go in. I went in and I was shivering. He says, Buddhi illa ninge, he said. I said, yenaithu Swami? Marriage broker tara barta idya, he said. ಏನಿದು ಬ್ಯಾಗ್ ಹಿಂಗಿಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮ್ಯಾರೇಜ್ ಬ್ರೋಕರ್ ಥರ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಎ ಟಿಪಿಕಲ್ ವೇ ಆಫ್ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್ ದಿಸ್. ಮ್ಯಾರೇಜ್ ಬ್ರೋಕರ್ ಥರ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಪುತ್ತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ ನಿನಗೆ, ಈ ಸೈಡ್ ಕೂತ್ಕೋ, ಸೈಡ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ಫಿಗರಸ್ಲಿ ವೈಪಿಂಗ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಮೌತ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೆನ್ ಹಿ ಸೆಡ್, ಬ್ಯಾಗ್ ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಕೋ, 10 ಸಲ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಡಿ ಬ್ಯಾಗ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು. ಐ ಸೆಡ್, ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದಿಸ್? ಸೊ ಐ ಹೆಲ್ಡ್ ದ ಬ್ಯಾಗ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಸೋ ಕಾನ್ಷಿಯಸ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ I didn't want to hold it like this. I mean, he will use some other term. I didn't want to hold it properly because I didn't know whether that is correct. I didn't know whether I should keep the bag on my head. What should I do? I somehow was shaking and walking. Straight agnadi. And he is all the while calmly reading letters. He is sitting on the chair and reading letters. And occasionally he will say, nadi, nadi. And again he is reading. And this is going on for about 5 minutes. I am going up and down the interview room, up and down, up and down, up and down. Stop madu. Because he had finished reading the letter. He calls and then he says, Nodu Bangaru, bag itkonduvaga ಧೈರ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಬೋಲ್ಡ್ ಆಗಿ ಚೆಸ್ಟ್ ಹೊರಗೆ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೆಡ್ ಹೈ ಆಗಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಡಿಬೇಕು. ಹಿಂಗಿಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಡಿಬೇಕು, ನಡಿ. ಎಸ್ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಐ ವಾಕ್ಡ್. ದೆನ್ he says, how should you use the bag? So he opened the compartments. He says, this compartment keep all these kind of papers. This compartment keep these kind of papers. Then if you have money, put it inside the zip. Then there was a small key. So he says you should lock the bag. Every time lock the bag, keep the key. You can't believe anybody here. So lock the bag and keep the key with you. Ee tara itkobeku bag. He spent so much time in guiding how you should walk with a bag. And after that, I don't know, many of you must have probably seen me going to Puttaparthi with that bag. It was a tanned color, maroonish color bag. And every time Swami, after that, the next 2-3 times, he will call and say, bag itkondu nadi first. So once you get into the interview room, the first exercise was to walk with the bag. And people would think this guy is carrying some massive stuff in the bag. The fact was, those Nevidyams which we used to take to Swami and the papers, and actually the bag was being carried because there was a drill going on inside. And after 1 month, he said, ಈಗ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ, ಇನ್ಮೇಲೆಯಿಂದ ನೀನು ಬ್ಯಾಗು ತಗೊಂಡು ಆರಾಮಾಗಿ ನಡಿ. So he spent all those sessions just to teach how to move around with a bag. To this extent, the Lord can go to drive in perfection. Because he had this penchant for perfection. For him, everything had to be immaculately done. Everything had to be done precisely. Everything had to be done in a certain manner. There was no letting up. There was no compromise at all. Everything had to be done up to a certain level of perfection. Once he got convinced that the way of holding the bag was right, he gave up. Like this. Yeah. You can go on and on and on and on and on like this. There were innumerable occasions which he took, to drive home points which you felt were so simple, but the Lord spent so much time trying to guide you on this. I must tell you that towards the last few months when Swami was in that mortal coil, ignorance, I think it was within us, he time and again said, ಬೇಗ 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 ಕೆಲಸ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋ, ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಹೇಳದೆ ಇದ್ರೂ ನೀನು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಐ ಸೆಡ್, ಸ್ವಾಮಿ, ವೇರ್ ಆರ್ ಯು ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್? ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ಬಿ ದೇರ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅಸ್. In fact, our prayer is we should go away and leave this body even when you are still with us. Illa, illa, illa. Swami and Shashvatavagirtara. You must understand, to lead a life based on Swami's principles. He was giving a lot of indications. He was giving a lot of rapid instructions. I remember towards the end, one very touching incident. It happened, I think, somewhere after the sports day of 2011. Suddenly, Swami one day said, "Where is your house?" So I said, "It is in Bangalore." Then he says, "Mysuralli ilva mane?" I said, "Illa Swami." "Mysuralli mane madu." I said, "Why should I have a house in Mysore? There is no need." Then he takes the trouble of identifying a land in Mysore, pushes us to buy the land in Mysore, and he says, "Swami, ivaga ಮತ್ತೆ ಇದೇ ಥರ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ನಾನು ಏನೇನು ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನೋ ಬೇಗ ಮುಗಿಸ್ಬಿಡು." I said, "What is the hurry? Why are we in this mad rush for what?" But little did we realize that the Lord was trying to usher in a certain kind of life for all of us. He was trying to tell us clearly, we didn't understand, that He is there always for us, but we will be bereft of that physical guidance probably. I feel I have had a few heart-to-heart conversations with Swami about the students and their role. And I sincerely feel, every time he would talk about students, tears and the sense of pride and the sense of, they being mine was always there. I feel the world is actually looking up to the students of Sathya Sai. There is a great onerous responsibility on the students to lay the road ahead, to show the path, which has already been carved out by Swami. They, I think, have to get hugely involved in the mission from now. And I always will consider myself to be unfortunate to not have been a student of Bhagwan's university. But I feel I want to look up and follow the path that is going to be laid by the students. His students are the only hope for mankind. There is no other hope for mankind today other than the role which the students will play. A big initiative in this direction is already underway with the Vidyavahini program, but I am sure in the days, months and years to come, his students will rule the world. They will show the direction. Everybody will tame themselves and follow his students. There's a tremendous responsibility on the students. The feeling, because he has touched them, he is a part of them directly. I don't think Swami ever spoke about my properties. The only property he said was his were his students. Finally, getting back to the topic which Vidyadhar and other senior alumni gave me, I am there for you, is what he said. It is very painful. I keep asking, Swami, where are you? Now where are you? I want to see that form. I want to touch that form. I want to feel that form. I want to talk to that form. It's okay. Let people say you are physically getting attached to him. Doesn't matter. After all, such a beautiful avatar will not come again. It happened once. That will be the grandest, the most beautiful avatar that humanity has ever witnessed in any yuga. We miss him. Each one of us here misses him a lot. And the question comes, where are you, Swami, now? Why is it I'm not able to see you? But I'm steadily getting reconciled to a fact that if there is this intense craving from within, if there is that heart-to-heart sort of a prayer, instantly he manifests himself. He doesn't, just as he would do when he was in that mortal coil, instantly he's there. In fact, I feel we should put our hands on our chest and say, not ask him, not say Swami is saying, I am there for you. I think we need to ask ourselves, are we there for him? We need to be there for him to work through us. Our lives becomes his message. I think we need to raise up and we need, because so much love, so much care, so much of guidance, I don't think any avatar ever gave. It is time for us to pull up our socks, become one. All should be one. It should all be a united effort. And we should all have one common agenda to take forward Swami's love, Swami's message on service, on love, on compassion to the whole of humanity and make the whole of humanity into one large, big Sai family. Jai Sai Ram.